So I think we're all in agreement that this is going to win Best Animated Picture. Puss is back and better than ever. Shrek has been memed about for the better half of a decade, yet this film seems to break the mold of a funny movie in the universe to a serious movie with fun thrown in. Spoilers ahead. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish follows Puss and his ever-looming thought of death. We start realizing that Puss has used 8 of his 9 lives rather carelessly, so Death, played by the big bad wolf, comes around and says, time's up, you're out of here. Puss is obviously frightened by this and tries to devise a plan for him not to die. Puss recalls the wishing star, which is this giant star in the ground that the first person to get to will be granted anything that they wish for. So Puss's plan is to reach the wishing star to get his lives back. He meets a dog along the way named Perito, who is abandoned as a pup and searches for friends. Puss also reunites with Kitty Softpaws from the first film. The 3 also face off against Goldilocks and the 3 bears, who all struggle with family issues and want the wishing star so that Goldilocks can go find a real human family. They're also in a race against Big Jack Horner, a man-baby chef who needs the star so that he can gain all the power and magic in the land. I thought this movie incorporated each group effectively and created a back and forth of power that worked well. I will say that I hate John Mulaney's voice. I hate it. So when Jack Horner spoke, frankly, I get pulled out of the movie and I'm just like, oh, there's John Mulaney again. There's his off-brand Seinfeld voice. Unfortunately, I think this hinders Jack's character for me. The character's already a villain, and the end of the film reinforces that idea, but I mean, he made me hate him so much. I cannot stand his voice. I can't stand it. Another issue I had was Perito as a character. I understand that this film is for kids, but this character, frankly, is just another Olaf to me. He's an annoying character that is random for the sake of humor, and I got really annoyed when they used the censor beep for what felt like the 20th time, just to create the idea of comedy. The first time it was funny. The first time I was like, oh, that's clever. But there was one scene where Perito was talking, and he went on this, like, what you're supposed to believe is just a swearing rant. It's extremely jarring because the start of the sentence is like, listen, hear you. And then for like 15 seconds, it's just beep, 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 beep. I mean, it sounded like Morse code. I don't know. I think if you were able to throw in like words in between the beeps, that maybe it would have been better. But still, I hated the idea past the first time it was used. And for some reason, it was like a reoccurring thing for this character. Definitely felt overused and it got really stale quickly. What The Last Wish does right is essentially everything else. The animation was beautiful and they used an Into the Spider-Verse animation style for the fight scenes, and that really worked well. My favorite thing about the film, though, has to be Death. This character was so unbelievably well written. From his design to his little whistle thing, Dreamworks nailed what a villain should be. His motive is clear, and with only a few appearances, it makes him even more frightening. Especially when you hear that little whistle, I mean, it makes your hairs on your arms stand up. What's even better is the ending. Once Puss accepts that he only has one life, Death is pretty pissed. His job was put on pause, pun intended, to wait for Puss's true death to come back. I loved the fights between these two characters as well. Puss and Death had some of the most compelling fight sequences. Puss ran away a lot. Puss was a scaredy cat, essentially. And Death was like, you're not going to run from me. I will always catch you. There was one point, I believe in the first fight, where Puss loses his sword. And rather than Death just being like, oh, I have my 2 sickles, and I'm just gonna, one-tap you, essentially. He kicks the sword back to Puss and is like, pick it up, we're fighting. He's definitely not like a unfair fighter. He definitely wants to put a fair fight up, which I think speaks more to his character than anything else. Death is this perfect villain, pun intended, who shows that he isn't this overpowered deity. I thoroughly enjoyed this film and plan on watching it many more times in the future. I am going to rate it an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Peace.